One of the first steps in providing a future for our native species is to understand the problems our native creatures are facing and what specific species are most affected. Carla Brandt is a biological information specialist with the Florida Natural Areas Inventory. She spends most of her time making data collected on rare plants and animals available to the public. With all this information at her fingertips, she understands which animals are most at risk.
Well, in Orange County, one of the most important species is the Florida black bear. That's become the subject of quite a lot of controversy. It gets killed on the road fairly frequently, and as more and more people come into the county, more and more black bear habitat gets converted to human habitat, and the black bears are attracted to dog food left out overnight and garbage cans and that sort of thing. The importance of the black bear is that it needs a lot of territory in which to live, and it needs a lot of different kinds of habitats. It moves around during the course of the year depending on where it can find the fruits and the berries and the acorns and the honey that it eats. Black bears are mostly plant eaters. They also eat some insect materials and some other animals, but primarily they are herbivores. And if we protect the black bear and all the various habitats that it needs and enough area for the black bear to survive, we'll also protect habitat for a number of other species that use those same habitats that bears use. Another important species in Orange County is the red-cockaded woodpecker. It's a habitat specialist. It's not a generalist like the bear is. It uses longleaf pine flatwoods, longleaf pine sandhills, such as the one we're standing in, and it's the only woodpecker in North America that creates its own cavities in living trees. With that tiny little bill, it can knock out a cavity in a couple of years in which it can raise its family. It prefers old longleaf pines. It will also use slash pines, but it needs old pines because they're sometimes softer in the middle and easier to excavate, and they're large enough for the bird to make the cavity. And one thing that biologists do is put artificial cavities in trees to encourage the birds to set up housekeeping. Black bears and red-cockaded woodpeckers unfortunately like a lot of the same habitats that are good for people to live in. They like uplands that don't flood. In the case of the bear, well, both species really, they also like the same trees that we use to make paper products and building products. So there's, sometimes people have different ways of growing trees that don't accommodate, especially the red-cockaded woodpecker. We don't let the trees grow to the ages that the red-cockaded woodpecker needs. And sometimes we plant trees so thickly that not enough sunlight can get through the tops of the trees to reach the ground to allow the kinds of food plants to grow that make for good bear habitat and for good woodpecker habitat.
Another native species having a hard time surviving in Florida is the Florida scrub jay. The Florida scrub jay is a bird found only in Florida and nowhere else in the entire world. This majestic species is similar to the common blue jay, but does not have the crested head or the white tail feathers and wing spots. It lives only in our state's oak scrub ecosystems, which are quickly vanishing to development. The Florida scrub jay was listed as a threatened species by the state in 1975 and by the federal government in 1987, but these designations have failed to halt the scrub jay's decline.
Well, there are basically two reasons. The first and most obvious is that their numbers have declined precipitously. They were once omnipresent on most of the old ridge systems in Florida, and the second reason is that most of these old ridge systems provide ideal habitat for homes and citrus and other forms of development, so that the number of jays has gone down as their habitat has disappeared to these other forms of development.